I want to bring up the next speaker, who's definitely somebody that, I've always admired. And, speaking of, working with industry titans, this is somebody high on our dream list of folks we want to build more with and invest more with, that I want to bring up to stage. Satish, please join me.
So,
All right. All right. So, Satish, welcome. Welcome to the Builders Summit. Um, I'm I'm so excited to have you on stage. This is a very rare occasion. Satish doesn't do this, like ever. He literally never does this, and he's doing this completely as a favor to Jack and I. He's a legend. For those of you that don't know Satish, I'm gonna give him a quick hype session because he won't do this. He won't brag about himself. So I'm gonna give him kind of 10 seconds on this. So Satish is a managing director of Redpoint, of course, serial entrepreneur and investor. Started a couple companies, sold his last one to Yahoo for $350 million before he became a VC. As a VC, he has been on the Forbes Midas list 6 more times than I have. 6, 0. The Forbes Midas list ranks the top 100 investors in the world. He ranked number 6 a couple years ago. And he's probably going to be there, 6 more times than me as well. But he's the GOAT. He invested in companies like, Snowflake, Pure Storage, Sonos, Nextdoor, Zendesk. I think a total of $80 billion in exits for Redpoint. He's invested in companies that have been acquired by Twitter, Microsoft again. You like selling companies to Microsoft, Amazon, Slack, ServiceNow, Cisco. He's seen a lot, and he's very active in AI right now. So, thought we could spend a few minutes imparting some wisdom on everybody in the room. But I want to kick things off asking you a question that I've always wondered about you. You have kind of, I guess, non-traditional VC behavior here. So Satish, you don't even have a Twitter account. You don't do podcasts. You don't speak at conferences. You don't write blog posts. Like, I've always wondered, if you don't VC brag, are you even a VC? Like, what's going on, man? Like, it's kind of weird.
hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for the overly generous introduction. I appreciate it. But I don't know. This is the honest to God truth. I don't think I have that many interesting things to say. And I kind of felt that social media and blogs and podcasts are kind of your alter ego, where you're your fake self. And I don't want to encourage that behavior. So that's why I'm off of it.
One deal you could certainly VC brag about is Snowflake. You guys were in Snowflake super early. I think the first outside investment after it was incubated by Mike Spicer. I heard this was a $50 million pre-money valuation. Sounds like you overpaid for a team and dream bet there, but we'll excuse that. But yeah, what did you see in the company in those early days? What were those early days like? Would love to hear about that story.
Yeah. I mean, look, to be honest with you, we did not expect this would be this outcome when we did the deal. When we did the deal, we felt like this is going to be a great outcome. We didn't know it's going to be an outlier. And so it definitely surprised us on the upside. However, what we saw, the biggest thing that we saw was dramatic founder market fit and where the market was headed. So these 3 founders had lived their lives building databases, and that was all that they knew. And we knew that they could build a great database. And they had this opinionated notion that they were going to be on the cloud and build a warehouse in the cloud and not do on-prem. And cloud was just beginning to take off. We're talking about 2012, right? And so we kind of felt, hey, there's wind behind the cloud. We're going to move into a cloud world, and this is going to be a database in the cloud. And honestly, we talked to 3 different experts. This is why you should not listen to anyone. We talked to 3 experts, and all of them said Amazon is going to clean out the cloud data warehouse because they have Redshift and it's going to clean out. But we felt like they're going to build something that's going to challenge that notion, and it would turn out to be right.
these were 3 engineers, right?
All three were engineers.
Yeah. How like how did you win them over? I'm sure it was competitive.
Yeah. So, we had gone through this journey a lot at Redpoint by then, and we had started figuring out, how best to win these deals and when we see something. And so by then, I had been in the firm for 3 years, and the then founders of Redpoint had given me enough power to go make a deal happen if I really thought it was an outlier. And so we met the founders. I was introduced to them on a Thursday. We met them, or I met them first. Friday morning, I thought this was going to be a really great company. And on a Sunday, I had three of my partners join me. We spent the whole day whiteboarding on Sunday, took them out to dinner. They were French, got a great bottle of wine, and closed the deal at dinner. And so they had all these partner meetings on Monday that they canceled because we closed the deal on Sunday.
That's awesome. Fast forwarding to, present day, you're super active in AI right now. I want to talk about Mistral, of course, speaking of French engineers. But, first on the AI front, every fireside chat requires 2 to 3 AI questions. So let's get started here. Ryan Singerman at Founders Fund, who's a friend of the firm, he was recently on stage and said, investing in AI startups is the least contrarian thing to do in history. It's completely uninvestable. You and your firm feel differently, obviously. Would love to hear your take on what's appropriately hyped, what's overhyped, what's underhyped in AI.
Yeah, I think what's appropriately hyped is foundational models like the OpenAI, Mistral, Anthropics of the world. I think they're going to fundamentally change everything, e- every workflow, everything that we do in our lives. It's all going to change, and all the dangers that it poses are also appropriately hyped. I'm not talking about AI becoming conscious or anything like that, but I think these models are so powerful that when it falls into the hands of bad actors, they can use the same power and dramatically disrupt a lot of things. And so then you got to think about defense against those kinds of things. And so all those things and the kind of value that's going to be created is appropriately hyped. What's overhyped is probably applications that have a little bit of AI in them, or some features that have AI in them. A good example is like, hey, I created this thing that's going to automatically read your email and write a summary reply. And this is this is the sort of company that's overhyped, right? Because
What if they have a .ai domain?
then it's a completely different. Then it's a complete. If they have a XYZ domain, it's on.
Let's talk about Mistral. I think you were one of the first U.S. VCs to invest in the company. Rumor is they're raising at a $5 billion valuation right now. You don't have to confirm or deny that. But what did you see in the company? How did you discover the company and meet the founders? Tell us that story.
3 French computer scientists.
That's a pattern.
That's a pattern.
French engineers.
French engineers. And we have Dagger, which is also 3 French.
Wow.
Anyway, first, honestly, back to founder market fit. The founding CEO came from DeepMind, had built foundation model before. We kind of felt like to build a foundation model, not every human in the world can do it. You need it's a rarefied atmosphere of the kinds of people who can build a foundational model. And we felt these 3 founders had done it before, and so they can do it again, back to the database kind of analogy, right? That was one. 2 is we believe in open source models. And so we kind of felt like, hey, maybe an open source version of OpenAI is going to be, that is equally powerful, might be interesting. And then finally, one of our theses was that foundation models are going to be such an important asset that it's going to become a nation state asset. And so we kind of felt like Europe is not going to say, hey, we're going to embrace OpenAI. They'll want their own model. And so we thought that Mistral's got a shot at that. So that was the thesis.
Was there a nice bottle of French wine involved?
Okay. Dramatic.
Zooming out from AI for a second, you witness greatness, partnering with some of the best founders out there. What do you think separates the best from the rest? What really makes an exceptional, you know, kind of once in a lifetime founder for you?
Yeah. I mean, when we think about founders, we think about uh, product vision and opinionated vision of the product. Then we think about how good are they at team, and how good are they at capitalization. And all of those three things are important. But I think with respect to product opinion, I think that's the most important thing. We want to see founders who have really, really dramatic product vision that's different and opinionated. Uh, and we want to have founders who attract other great people to work with them, uh, that get the best out of everyone and drive them, but everyone is happy to work with them. I say work with them, not work for them. And that's a really important kind of thing,
Is there an example that jumps to mind?
of great founders.
Somebody,
Well, yeah, I can pick, I mean, I can only pick, things like Pure Storage, which we invested in, right? And Kaz was one of those founders, and he had a bunch of people who wanted to work with him. Scott Dietzen, who is actually one of my buddies, uh, is another example. He was the CEO of Pure Storage, and he attracts great people to work with him, not for him, and builds a culture of respect and driving everyone, to their best.
um, strong product vision, you know, combined with figuring out go to market. I mean, let's talk about go to market a little bit. We're constantly trying to up level our companies on the go to market side, whether it's a brand new company or a growth company. Everyone in this room, whether you're a software engineer or go to market whiz, is always trying to up level. How do I get my product in the hands of the right customers? What what have you seen on the go to market side? What wisdom can you impart on the group here? Would love to drill in a little bit more there.
Yeah, on the go-to-market side of things, what we advise our companies and our CEOs is don't go for growth, right? Get really a small handful of customers and uh, try to make them as successful as possible. Uh, and refine your product, learn from them. Don't worry about revenue, don't worry about how many such customers you have. Just pick a handful that'll give you feedback, and then figure out what the best KPIs are for your business and your product in terms of making the customer successful. What are the KPIs for customer success? Is it engagement? In a consumer company, it might be DAU and DA to WAU ratio and CAC and things like that. In the enterprise company, to be like, hey, how much value are they deriving? Is it the kind of value that you think you want to provide? And is that value provided by an incumbent or a different company? And is your value differentiated? And usage is a huge thing, right? And once you have that, then you can think about, hey, is my go-to-market going to be bottoms up or tops down? A lot of really successful companies start bottoms up or start tops down, but eventually it's always a mix of bottoms up and tops down. And you should be open to those ideas. But I think calibrating your customer success first, then launching into go-to-market is probably the best thing I can.
Have you seen some common pitfalls on the go to market side, whether it's B2B or consumer?
Yeah, actually we do. And interestingly, it's growth, both in the consumer landscape and in the enterprise landscape. It's dramatic growth without we say, oh my God, we have 25 million subscribers and it's only like few months. Or we see, hey, we have 250 customers in the first quarter, right? And then they all churn. It's a leaky bucket problem, right? So they are able to add a lot at the top of the funnel, but and close at the bottom of the funnel, but then they leak out. So no matter how much you pour into the bucket, it's a leaky bucket, and that's that we see across. across the sectors, to be honest with you.
In terms of team building, you mentioned obviously that's something you guys focus a lot on in terms of a founder's capabilities. I guess similar question. Common pitfalls, kind of mistakes you keep seeing over and over, or any thoughts on that?
In terms of teams, how to build teams, yeah.
Really?
I think there's a huge difference between being a great manager and being a great leader, right? And um, a great manager might be someone like Jack Welch, right?
Hmm.
Or like that. And a great leader might be someone like MLK,
Hmm.
right? And I think founders need to be, I think to build a great team, you need MLK like people, right? And what I mean by that is you want to inspire people, right? It's not about spreadsheets and project management and are you able to deliver this at the stage and, what's the budget and all those things are important, but it's not nearly as important as being a leader and inspiring people.
That's awesome advice. I mean, you probably get, I don't even know how many pitches a day do you get from founders. But kind of the top 1%, the ones that you decide to dig in deep on, like what gets your attention? How can builders think about kind of fundraising and really kind of being an outlier in your eyes?
Bottom line is we get several hundred pitches of which we choose each partner sees several hundred, 500 and above pitches a year, and they choose maybe two or three investments, Series A investments to make. Seeds are different, right? Honestly, I we look at a few different things. Where did the D come from? I mean, who is introducing the D to us, and where is that coming from? You were talking earlier about what you guys do in your business, and actually, that it turns out that is important for upstream investors like ourselves because we're like, hey, we know that Jack and Chester don't like spray deals. They go through an exercise where they go through the market and figure out, they do all these A/B testing and figure out whether these. So there's a little bit of pre-qualification that comes when, depending on the source where the introduction came from. So that's one thing we look for. Second thing, and I have the saying, it's not mine, but I have adopted it as mine, and it's like mantra inside of Redpoint, which is when shady markets meet amazing founders, is the market that keeps its reputation intact. So we really, really lean into that, which is no matter how great you are, if you're in a shitty market, it's going to be a shitty outcome, and that's how it's been. So one of the things I say to founders is like, hey, look at your market. Uh, what kind of outcomes has the market delivered in the past? Are there economies of scale in the market? Is there value to be created in the market? Or is the market going to that you've figured out that there's an inflection point and the market is going to dramatically change and grow? It was shitty until now, but here's the reason why it's going to grow like the cloud. It's going to grow. And, what Uber did, the market grew than the taxi market. And so I think always ask, because I think VCs think a lot about the market. And then, of course, we talked about founder market fit and, hey, why are you going to be so good in this market? I think that's an important question you have to answer. Yeah, so those are, and then we obviously do founder references and making sure that they do have that leadership quality. They can attract people. People want to work with them, all those kind of things. You can make it happen, So always believe in yourself and you can make it happen. That's like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Satish. It's an honor to have you up here.
Thank you.